Hope everyone had a good weekend. We're about to throw some instructions in the chat about just changing your display names so that we know who we are talking to. I was thinking that we could start by introducing ourselves since I know some faces, I know some names, but I don't know everybody here. So let's get started. I am Kara Cotter. I work for the Berry and RISA. My interest in the field is primarily in AAC, but I do it all. Kristen, would you like to go next?
Sure. My name is Kristen Blaine. I'm a special ed teacher by trade, now AT consultant at the Ottawa Area Intermediate School District. And I recently got to talk to Region 3 directors. So if you're here because your Region 3 director contacted you, we're very happy that you're here.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Gail Evans. I do assistive technology for Allegan and Van Buren, and I really have been focusing a lot on AAC the last couple of years. And it's so nice to see some of you, hey Laura, that I haven't seen in a long time.
Thank you. Kelly.
Hi, I'm Kelly McCauley. I'm a speech language pathologist at Kalamazoo RISA. I am an AAC lover at heart, and I currently support a caseload of exclusively transition age students.
That's awesome. So that is our planning team. So let's hear from the rest of you guys. Let's go with Megan first.
Hi, Megan Dewall, SLP by trade, but I am now an AAC consultant with the Muskegon Area ISD.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming.
Thanks.
Abby.
Hi, I'm Abby. I am a speech language pathologist for Kalamazoo RISA, primarily working with in our moderate cognitive impairment classrooms all the way from kindergarten through high school, and then our upper middle school, high school ASD friends.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let's do Jennifer next.
I assume that's me. Hi, I'm Jen Nelson. I'm the speech pathologist at Hillside Learning Center.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jen. Let's move on to Laura.
Good morning. I'm Laura Griffith. I'm from Calhoun ISD is my actual employer. However, we also cover Berry ISD and Branch. I thought I was going to unload both this year, but apparently that didn't happen. And so I have actually been around for a really long time. I'm kind of the Gail Evans era over there, but I just haven't been particularly involved because I've been sucked into a lot of other things in the last probably 5 years, actually. So good morning to all.
We always end up getting pulled in 1,000 different directions, don't we? Thank you. Sarah.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sarah Vomastic. I'm a speech language pathologist for Kalamazoo RISA. It's great to see everybody's faces this morning. I service SCI, SXI, DHH, and one of our cases classrooms. Happy to be here.
Thanks so much. All right, let's do Corey.
Sorry, we had a 2-hour fog delay, so I'm still at home trying to get ready to go to work today. My name is Corey Stevens. I am the Montcalm Area ISD AT consultant. I work with all of our center-based programs, our ISD programs, and even our local programs. So we've got 7 school districts in our county, and so this is my 2nd year. I'm looking forward to continuing to learn as much as I can.
Awesome. Thank you so much. For those of you who are just hopping in, we are just introducing ourselves, talking about where we work and what kind of area we work in. So let's keep moving with Kathy.
Hi, Kathy Foote, Ionia Intermediate School District, AT specialist, and I supervise the healthcare aged care professionals that work in the districts, and I've done this for about 24 years.
Thank you so much. Let's have Lindsay talk. Lindsay, are you there? Oh, you're totally good.
There's a delay. Okay. Sorry, I'm late. The fog was horrendous this morning. So Corey, I'm glad your school called off because with deer season and all of that, it was a little nerve-wracking. So I'm Lindsay. I work for Ottawa Area ISD with Kristen. We're the team of two. I'm a speech path by background, so I focus more on communication, but with any job in education, you start absorbing other responsibilities and knowledge to move forward.
Definitely. It looks like Krista is still connecting to audio, so we'll have Ashley talk next.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, hi. Ashley Newell. I'm at Allegan Area ESA. I'm the occupational therapist. I work with SXI, ASD, all of the things. So
Thank you so much. All right. So, thank you guys so much for introducing yourselves. Wanted to get a feel for who was in the room, and thank you so much for coming this morning. I really appreciate your time. So, today we are going to be talking a little bit about the future of the group. So, can toss our PowerPoint up, and I can hand it over to Kelly.
All right. Thanks again for being here, guys. It's exciting to be here all together as a region. I think it's probably been a long time since we had this many faces in a room together to talk about Region 3. So we're really psyched you're here. Thanks for joining us on Monday. So today in this hour that we have together, we wanted to first refresh our memory about let's start with what is Region 3? What are we doing here? So we want to talk about what Region 3 is, as well as our history, where we've been. We want to share some current statewide AT resources that exist across the county or across the state, as well as share some upcoming requirements that are coming at the state and federal level. Then we'll have a discussion about what needs we see within Region 3 and how we can meet those needs collectively. And then we want to make some decisions moving forward about how we can collaborate together as a region and what that might look like. And so we're hoping by the end of the hour today that we'll have made some decisions about how to move forward as a region and make some plans about potential next meeting dates, or at least objectives for our time together moving forward.
All right, so Region 3, I know being a special ed teacher in one of our local districts, when I started in the AT role, I started hearing about the different regions and region directors and region AT, and I had, excuse me, ask somebody, can you pause? Like, what is the region thing? So I'm very visual. So here you have the state of Michigan, and we are that nice little pink salmon color. But this is collectively who makes up Region 3. Those are all the counties listed. And this might be old news for some of you, but I wanted to make sure we didn't assume that everybody knew this, because when I was new in this position, I had no idea what folks were talking about when they were speaking of the different regions. But Region 3, the AT Consortium, or if you see ATC too, I know I was like, what's the C? Is not a new group. So I'm going to pass the torch to Gail, and she's going to talk about the history of this group. And kind of today we're making a historical decision on which trajectory this group is going to go.
Great, thanks, Kristen. So there's a couple of peers, I guess, for me. Kathy and Laura have been around to this year. I started my 30th year, and I was not on the AT team, regional team to begin with, but I do remember that we used to be called Enabling Technology, and and then we were the Assistive Technology Committee. That's what the C used to stand for. And then once we started kind of picking back up after the pandemic, the C kind of turned into a consortium for some reason. So, but mainly we were the Assistive Technology Committee mainly comprised of ancillary staff and OTs or special ed teachers that were part of a center-based building that comprised most of us. And we always had a chair and a co-chair person. We met full days. We always made sure it was a different day of the week each month so that we weren't impeding on certain students that we had seen. We all had caseloads, and usually about 20 people or more attended. And we always did a sharing, kind of a round robin sharing, what are you doing? And that really comprised of, that sometimes would take an hour going around each place saying what they're doing, but we always learned a lot from each other. Often had vendors. They loved having everyone in one place, and they would come in person at first. And then over the years, they started doing Zoom, obviously. And then we usually had some type of a work group in the afternoon. And that varied from year to year, actually. But really, I felt like Region 3 meetings were something that I never missed. They were always good, and we always grabbed something that we could use again very soon. And so it was just always helping us professionally and helping us get work done. Matter, it's now called Alt Shift, used to be called Matter, and I can't remember what it was called even before that. But they began getting the regions together. And so that really kind of helped open our eyes to what other regions were doing. And Region 4 always had more resources. And I believe, I think that they would be honest too, that Region 4 felt like they did everything and none of the other regions did anything. And once they got to meet with us and we talked with them, then they realized that we actually did stuff on the other side of the state too. And so, but we grew from knowing them. So I don't want to just say that they were all know-it-alls. They were really, they had resources, and they were they were doing a lot of stuff differently, and we learned from them. I know I grew professionally from them. And we had a close-ish connection with the directors. So we met with the directors, let the chair or co-chair would meet with them usually twice a year. And we always had a summary of what each county was doing. It was in writing. And then there was always kind of a little friendly competition between the different directors. They were always proud of what their AT person was doing. And they started, that's where we started getting some money for doing things. And they realized that as a committee, we all knew things, but it was difficult to have that knowledge trickle down. And so they really wanted us to start focus on training. And so we did bring in some guest speakers to come to different areas for people to attend. And then we also started that we were the presenters at stuff. And that's how Assist Techno kind of got started with some seed money from the directors. And then it just kind of grew bigger from that. That's kind of our history. I don't know, Laura or Kathy, if you have anything else to add to what we used to do back in the day.
It was a very good overview, Gail. Thank you. That was very succinct because it felt a lot longer than that.
I know. Very true.
And I want to agree. I really, like I said, when we got together, we did, I think we were it was a great group, and I did enjoy. Now I'm starting to get back involved with Alt Shift. So that was a very important relationship to learn about and be part of.
And so I think what we're hoping is we're trying to find our way again, right? And we don't want to duplicate what other people are doing. We don't want to, everyone is busy. How do we, it's a new era. I'm not saying that we should do what we were doing, but I'm saying it would be great if the Region 3 Assistive Technology Consortium was something that we needed in our lives, and that we got information from, and we helped and we gave information to, and that anyway, that would be helpful for us regionally, but also obviously statewide, that people could be getting stuff from Region 3. Which leads us to
That's perfect. So part of the debate about where to go next is because we have a lot of different groups in Michigan now. We have the Michigan AT Leaders Lunch and Learn. We have the POHI SXI group. And we also have our Michigan Schools in Action group, which are all awesome sources of information. So since we have so many resources available to us, how do we make sure that we are not, just meeting together and talking about the same thing over and over again that you guys have gotten from all of those different meetings? So I was on the board for AT Leaders Lunch and Learn for the past couple of years. It's a fantastic resource. We talk about different things that are up and coming. We bring in guest speakers, meet for an hour a month. It looks like coming up we have a family's experience with inclusion and AT accessible recreation and leisure, which is so cool, and then some AAC topics. So how do we make sure we're not duplicating that? Let's move on to the next one.
So the Michigan POHI SXI group, again, I think this was one that historically was meeting and then kind of, got more popular in recent years. They did have a POHI SXI conference last year in Traverse City, and they've decided every other year they're going to continue to have that. They did not list the topics, but I know that they highlight a bunch of things that are really critical to the SXI and POHI community. And so if you're not familiar with that, if you'd like to register and sign up, the shortened URL is there and it's linked into the slide deck, or maybe it's not linked. This is a screenshot, but I can type it in the chat. So again, that's another group that touches on the low incidence population if you're needing those specific resources. And then because Lindsay is on the planning committee for Michigan Schools in Action, I asked if she would kind of give an overview of what this group has been up to.
Yeah, so this group started a few years ago from a need of just connecting with other people who work with AAC. So it's not specific to AAC consultants, speech path teachers. It's anyone who wants to learn. We have Margie, who's our parent, who comes and is a great source of information as well. So pass this along for anyone that's interested in learning for AAC. We do have our dates there and we have our topics. So if you sign up with that bit.ly at the top of the form, it does say what our topics are each day. And then you'll get a reminder email as well as access to the shared drive, which we have a Google sheets full of resources that everyone has kind of compiled and continues to compile and update as we discuss on different topics. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me, but sign up there and you'll probably get an email from me in a few days anyways.
Okay, and I'll drop that last one in the chat too. I can't type as fast as we're going. So what's kind of rolling out from the different federal and state levels that impacts our jobs, but also the greater special ed, gen ed curriculum? It's not just going to be touching our roles. And I would say, how many of you, show of hands, are familiar with AT Missing Facts that dropped last January? And I'm trying to scroll. Okay, I see some. So this is a guidance document that is really helpful for our role, especially in terms of AT services. And a lot of myths are alive and well in our county. So I would argue they're probably alive and well in other parts of Region 3 also. Sometimes as we're interacting with teams, we'll share like, oh, that's actually a myth. Here's the fact. And they say sometimes, well, our director said. So we're trying to, thanks, Kelly, for dropping that in the chat. We're trying to get this information out, which is challenging to do when you support a large organization. But we really need individuals in the field of AT, special ed, gen ed to be aware of what this document has, because we do have parents that are becoming empowered and learning about these myths and facts. And I know that schools always feel a little uncomfortable when parents come to a table with more information than their staff have. So just trying to get that information out. That's going to impact our work until all of us retire. The ADA Title II updates. So this rolled out last April. This is probably a little less familiar to folks, but this is requirements for accessibility for technology. In fact, anything with a digital interface. So I know a lot of people are saying, oh, well, our website meets ADA Title II updates. The website is just one small component. It's also any electronic materials that classroom teachers are creating. It could be your attendance system. It could be apps you're using to connect with your parents. So depending on your district size, if you are over 50,000, this is going to be effective June of 26. If you're under 50,000, this goes into effect June of 27. And this is really important because this is not just special ed law, this is a civil rights. So if you listen to podcasts, if you read any articles about this update, they're saying it should be conversations in teams starting now of your curriculum, your IT, your AT. It should be a bunch of people with different expertise and areas to ensure that schools can actually meet these requirements. And at the very least, if you can't meet them by that cutoff date, that you have a defensible plan. So we know this curriculum is not accessible, or we know this platform is not accessible, but here's what we're doing to ensure accessibility by X date. Especially if you're in an area where people are looking at procuring new materials maybe this year, they need to know about this so that they can be fiscally responsible, because we're not corporations. We don't have a ton of money to retrofit and make the changes that are going to have to be made by the 2026 or 2027 summer. Then we have LRE considerations. So we know a lot of our directors that have been attending the MACE conference and things like that. Michigan kind of got, I don't know what would be the appropriate saying here, but the federal government was looking down on Michigan a little bit for our LRE considerations and kind of lack of documentation around students going to more restrictive environments. So that is going to be a big area of focus for administration. And I think how powerful to kind of remind them of assistive technology and how powerful of an intervention AT can be for keeping kids in their least restrictive environment, and what that means to do it well, not just as a checkbox as we're looking at shifting environments. And then dyslexia, this is more of a Michigan, in October, Governor Whitmer signed the whole idea of having all kids, is it grade 3, Gail? Screening all students?
It's all students. I don't know that
Okay.
they focused on one grade.
Okay, so screening all students for dyslexia and having a game plan after you've gotten those screening results. And again, we know a lot of AT, like text to speech and different things like that, can be really effective for this population and kids with similar characteristics. And so schools are going to have a plan for 1, screening, and 2, now what do we do for kids that are flagged on these screeners? And that's going to be effective the 27-28 school year. So all sorts of things coming down from federal to state that are going to be touching the work that we do. But we know in a lot of these avenues, it can't just be the 1 or 2 AT people in a county that meet the requirements of all of these guidelines that are coming down. So teamwork makes the dream work. So this is where we're wondering, with these other groups around Michigan that were mentioned, nobody's really talking about these things per se. And so is this an avenue that this group of Region 3 could be working on, pulling in other folks in the region? And then can we be providing something for our state that's not already being touched on? So I know it's a big shift from AT specific, but we were kind of curious what the group's thoughts might be around these guidance.
With all of that in mind, we shared a Google form a while back, and I would love if we can take just a couple minutes for those of you who weren't able to answer it to go ahead and share your feedback. We have a fun little song that we're going to play for you guys as you type in your Google form that Kristen made with AI. It's about the myths and facts of AT. So it's going to be a top 40 song probably in a matter of days, if I had to guess. We're really ahead of the curve. So if you guys can go in, looks like it was just linked in the chat. We've got about 2 minutes and 8 seconds. And if we need a little more time, we can play it again or play her rival Taylor Swift. Up to you guys.
Myths and facts. set us straight. Misunderstood words, never to resist. If tack, it helps us all. Breaking down walls, we stand tall. Accessibility, a right for you. Tools to help you see it through. Facts are clear, no need to guess. Ever revolving, we want success. So myths and facts, hear the call. Break the chains, tear down the wall. All from the heart, it's time to share. Myths and facts everywhere. Every child deserves the best. Guidance here for the test. Offer stands with open hands, building dreams in all the lands. Tech assist, never fear. Truth and myth, make it clear. Education leading the way, lighting up a brand new day. Myths and facts, hear the call. Break the chains, tear down the wall. All from the heart, it's time to share. Myths and facts everywhere. Accessibility, a right for you. Tools to help you see it through. Facts are clear, no need to guess. Ever evolving, we want success. So myths and facts, hear the call. Break the chains, tear down the wall. All from the heart, it's time to share. Myths and facts everywhere.
All right, I'm looking at the responses and it looks like we haven't had time to submit most of them yet. Can you guys just raise your hand if you need a couple more minutes? All right, I'm seeing hands up. So let's play the song again. I think that 2 minutes is a nice way to time ourselves. So I'll see you guys at the end of the song.
Myths and facts, that set us
Don't worry if you hear me
straight.
singing along this time.
Misunderstood words, never to resist. If tack, it helps us all.
Sorry. My bad.
No worries.
Myths and facts, that set us straight. Misunderstood words, never to resist. If tack, it helps us all. Breaking down walls, we stand tall. Accessibility, a right for you. Tools to help you see it through. Facts are clear, no need to guess. Ever revolving, we want success. So myths and facts, hear the call. Break the chains, tear down the wall. All from the heart, it's time to share. Myths and facts everywhere. Every child deserves the best. Guidance here for the test. Offer stands with open hands, building dreams in all the lands. Tech assist, never fear. Truth and myth, make it clear. Education leading the way, lighting up a brand new day. Myths and facts, hear the call. Break the chains, tear down the wall. All from the heart, it's time to share. Myths and facts everywhere. Accessibility, a right for you. Tools to help you see it through. Facts are clear, no need to guess. Ever evolving, we want success. So myths and facts, hear the call. Break the chains, tear down the wall. All from the heart, it's time to share. Myths and facts everywhere.
All right. If you guys are still working on that, don't worry. You can go ahead and type. You can finish it up after the meeting. So let's take a little look. Gail, do you mind if I screen share for a minute so we can talk about the responses? It looks like you have it already. We can. All right. So it looks like people are feeling, a little unsure, but very optimistic. I think that I want to hear. Oh, there we go. That's exactly what I was looking for. Perfect. So we're a little bit split, a little unsure, feeling like the work is on the right track, though. And there's a couple people who are really excited about it. So that is good to know. People are interested in collaboration with other groups, statewide groups. There's a little bit of concern about people setting policy within their own district. We want some guidelines, looking at how we can integrate the state and federal laws with collaboration, teacher support and accountability for follow through. Best ideas won't work unless they are used. That is, I could put that on a t-shirt. That is something that I feel like I'm just on repeat saying. So it looks like we are interested in kind of pursuing this avenue, wanting to make sure that we're not duplicating ourselves with the other groups, which I think is exactly what the planning team was thinking as well. All right, let's look at our square up. Working alone is tough. Agreed. Let's do it. I'm not sure what the current vision is. That's what we are working on too. So that's why I'm glad you guys are here and we can read these responses because as we've been having these discussions about where to go next, didn't want to guess what you guys had to say about it. Hoping to be on board. I love that cautious optimism. I think that that is a good place to start. Information overload. Yep, worried about that duplication. Wanting to put some systems in place. We can have a space to collaborate. And just happy we aren't creating guidelines and talking about the AT evaluation process. Yep, I think we've talked about the AT evaluation process about 1,000 times from 1,000 different directions. So it's nice to have somewhere new to go. And then let's go to the what is still circling in your head. Time commitment, here to help and learn, struggling to see how it ties in. Everyone's role is a little different. What is the time frame? Hoping to figure that out today too. All right, I'm seeing this cautious optimism as well. We will need to consult with some other groups. So that is really great feedback. Thank you guys for putting it in. So let's talk a little bit. Unmute the mics. Be brave talking in a big group setting. But let's go back one slide. I want to know, what do you guys see as the biggest AT need in your practice? Day to day, where are those gaps coming in?
I'll start. I think I do. I think we do a lot of these, like the Michigan Schools in Action. I spent a lot of my time with AAC devices and that kind of part of my job. I don't spend enough time on the actual assistive technology portion of my job. Trying to get some of our EI students. Am I not finding tools for them to be successful enough because I'm spending so much time on our students that have AAC devices? So that's something what I would like to get out of it. This group is some more AT ideas rather than the AAC, because I think we got the AAC covered.
I think that's super valid. I know a lot of us in this group are SLPs. I myself am guilty of focusing on AAC with everything that I've got. Thank you. I appreciate that. In my county, I know that I struggle with getting information about the guidelines out to groups to have them listen and absorb it. but I also have trouble sometimes with kind of that baseline stuff, teaching teachers about what tools are available and feeling confident to actually use it without having to come to me for permission every single time. So if anybody else has, what are the needs that you see?
I think in my group, one of our special ed coordinators for one of the districts was not even aware that AT could help with some of our students that have reading disabilities. And I kind of felt it was a failure on my end. And because I just really don't get, I mean, AAC seems to take up a lot of time. And we have some issues in my county right now that everybody kind of does their own thing. So that's getting addressed hopefully, but I haven't felt that I've been able to support the AT, and I'm always having to go to a district tech director to see, do you have, some free, do you have a free app that's for all learners? And it's just very time consuming. I would like to have a lot more of that in my tool belt, more AT ideas.
Thank you.
I feel like with the myths and facts, and speaking to that one concern too, I'm not really sure how this ties into my role. Regardless of your role in the population of students you serve, the myths and facts document touches the whole spectrum, all high incidence, low incidence, monetarily supporting AT. I feel like that would probably be the resource that person would want to, kind of cue into. But, and I think Kathy, you hit the nail on the head with going to your ed tech folks. So I feel like some of this work would force us to have those conversations with IT and ed tech, because if we are truly going to get the information out for what we do to support not just AAC, but our high incidence disabilities with the AT, it's got to be everybody having these conversations. It can't live with one person in a whole county. But yeah, I think that would be cool. And what is it, Maryland? They have kind of taken their AT and split it into like a low incidence and a high incidence AT. So that I don't know. I'm just thinking all sorts of ideas, but I'm curious to hear more.
So we've got a couple people who want some more ideas about general AT rather than AAC. What else are you guys seeing? What needs do you have?
I would say like on a day-to-day, like just in practice, implementation of AT tools into classrooms and outside of just, the individual therapy environments. Really integrating it into those classrooms. And then from the county perspective, looking at our AT process, like just general more awareness and buy-in and training for our local people who work with AT, and just increasing their awareness of the fact that, we have an AT team and we have different tools that are available and just what tools are available to them.
Absolutely. That goes along with whoever wrote that, the best practice still needs to be implemented, to be the best. So how do we get that information out? How do we get buy-in? I think that's great. What else are you guys seeing?
I would just concur about the comments relative to AAC. Those of us that are old, honestly, at this point, we've just watched the pendulum swing, back and forth. And so, AAC got the spotlight, right, for the last, at least I would say 7 years, which is awesome. It needed. I'm an SLP, although I'm super glad that I don't work as an SLP anymore. And so I would say that, my involvement with this group would need to not be kind of addressing more AAC at this point, because I feel like that's already covered in a lot of places and spaces in the state at this point. And I, for my role right now, pretty much only service high incidence students. And so I come from a definitely more ed tech lens at this point. And so I really would dig, if the group was putting forth things that we could do together to make it easier for teams to know what to do on their own. You know, whether that's some sort of ad campaign that we work on together with information, or, you know, what are some basics that, you know, you can try first before you call me, kind of a thing. And you don't need me for AT, right? So like all of those things that take time, that, and I have created, you know, some of that stuff already, but I think it would be more powerful if it came from a region and could be shared with more than just my little space of the world, for sure. So
Super helpful. I know that a lot of us probably have like pieces of that we've already created. So how great would it be if we could come together, have to reinvent the wheel?
Yeah. We all
I'm
have
really-
Canva. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard twice now the high incidence, low incidence, and so that's something to consider. And we also talked about a small group of us about grade bands in a way also. So younger versus older, for lack of a better word. And so even having things in those different pocket areas also, I think would be beneficial.
Yeah, I agree. The way that we do things is so different from population to population, from building to building. So having some kind of focus areas would be great. Anybody else? What are you guys seeing as a need in your practice? Day to day, what do we need?
It sounds like historically Region 3 had been like frequently met with directors. I know Kristen had the opportunity recently, and Lindsay too, I believe. But I just wonder how we might be able to bring that back to the focus, like what information that we can collect or organize that could be easily digested by directors within our region. I think that would be really meaningful work to engage in, because like we're all saying, like we're boots on the ground people, right? We're not the people making the decisions about policies and practices, but yeah, I think that would be a meaningful part of this work.
I agree with that as well. A lot of us, I feel like we, you know, say things to the directors and they're like, oh yeah, okay. And then they hear it from somebody else and they come back and they're like, did you hear about this? And you're like, what do you mean? So having another avenue where we can kind of reiterate the points that we've been making, I think that would be fantastic. Any last thoughts before we move on to the next slide?
I would just piggyback what Kelly and Carrie are saying. So it's not like we're demonstrating we're not on an island. We feel like we're on an island, but we're not. And there is more backing, looking at our neighbors, seeing what they're doing. That just might provide more weight, credibility to what we're saying versus it always coming from me or Kristen or whoever it might be. And the more times they hear it, and seeing too, like that ad campaign, like getting creative with that, just to have different avenues, knowing that something might connect with someone because of the presentation or the timing that it's delivered. Just not bombarding, but being persistent with the communication.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Anybody else have any last thoughts before we move on? All right. Thank you guys so much for talking on this. One idea that we did have was potentially doing like work groups. So we had talked about doing like an adapted activities by grade band or high incidence, low incidence. We had talked about doing a dyslexia work group, an AT-MIS work group, and potentially a newsletter to help kind of disseminate that information. So as we go on to this next slide, just keep that in mind as a potential avenue.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, and this was a message we delivered to the directors as well, is AT can't be the standalone thing. Depending on if you're a director, a speech path, a resource teacher in a high school, everybody needs kind of a different level of AT knowledge, but foundationally, the definition of what it is and isn't, and how it folds into other work, I think is what we do all need to know. So I would be curious, regardless of, you know, which direction we go as Region 3, the federal and state guidelines that have been dropping and things that are going to be coming to be effective in the next couple of years, let's say we're focusing on high incidence disabilities. Okay, but what connections can we make to myths and facts? What connections can we make to the ADA Title II updates? So maybe we're focused on something more AT specific, but yet we're making those connections for key stakeholders of how our work ties into these greater initiatives, guidance, all the things. So we kind of asked in the Google form about the points, what squares up with your thinking. You're like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Or what's circling, like what questions you're still having. So if there's any points or, confirmations that you're having or questions, you can toss them out. I guess where to next? I'm also kind of wondering with this group, what is your preference? Is it virtual? Would there be merit in us coming together in person for a work group? Because time's a non-renewable resource, right? So how are we going to get this group together to work on these things? What's too much time versus not enough? So it can not only be the content and kind of the vision of Region 3 AT Consortium, but also if you have a strong opinion about meeting, we would like to hear that as well.
I'll pop on for that piece. I feel that maybe a combination would be a good way to go, doing Zoom during the year, because as we all know, from about October to April, it's crazy town for those of us with boots on the ground. But maybe a early September meeting in person and then one again in May to circle back would be something that I would be really interested in.
That's good feedback. I know our local AT leadership team said the same thing. Like somebody else was going to say something.
I was just saying that I agree. I think a little virtual, obviously it's just something that's time conducive to our schedules, but face to face, hands on is something I think we also learn well from. And so if we could find some times to meet in person, I think that's always good to build relationships and put actual faces to faces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I will say it sounds, I was just going to say, it sounds like our Region 3 directors would be very supportive of that as well.
Being such an island in the county, it's really nice to go and see that it's like an actual real person, not just like a flashcard on a Zoom screen. So getting that face-to-face time, I think, is huge for collaboration.
I think also having some type of asynchronous thing going on. So whether it's a website or a newsletter or something that people can work on when they can, right? And so I do think scheduled meetings are wonderful and that needs to happen. But I think if we had some place, something that, again, asynchronously people could just submit to. So my thought just, if we had a newsletter, it could have the same kind of skeleton features, and then people could just plug in things. And then at any time, they didn't have to wait till a Zoom meeting to happen or an in-person or something. And then that newsletter then could be shared out with everyone. So we could have an AT myths and facts section. We could have, I think it's fine that we have an AAC section. I know that a lot of us are doing AAC and have a lot of information, and we don't necessarily need more information, but we do want to be able to support everyone who may be attending the Region 3 meeting, and there may be some people that need some information about AAC. So I don't want to totally rule out anything, but I do want to be able to, I don't know, like differentiate, make sure that we are supporting everybody's needs. And so I guess I'm wondering if something like that, either a website that we could point people to or a newsletter that goes out that might be part of the advertising that we do, something that could be worked on by more than just a few people, but like everyone contribute. And anyway, that's my wondering.
Yeah, because we don't need to sit down and talk about AAC over and over again, since I know we've all been kind of inundated with that information. But that doesn't mean that the info doesn't need to get out to people still. So something like a newsletter, something asynchronous would be a nice way to like collect and send out, make sure that everybody has.
I like the idea of having a product too. So whether we do something synchronous or, whether it is a newsletter that follows ADA compliance. But then if we did do an in-person or work group, to have a work group, and when we walk away, we have a draft of something that we can add to a library or to the next school year planning session. So it's a tangible thing too, because then we can show that to directors and say, this is what we're doing when we meet.
And I know I'd also like, can we get some our contact information? I know there've been times where I've had like some tough students, and it's only my second year as a former teacher. So like, I think I called Lindsay one day, like, hey, I got this question. I don't know what to do. Will you help me? And so I would love to have you guys as resources if we have things that come up that we don't know the answer to.
Yeah, because I'm not gonna lie, I hate emailing the whole statewide group. It's way too
Yes.
many people for me to ask my dumb question to.
But I
Oh,
think
sometimes the quiet listserv, I'm like, oh, here's the 4,000. I'm really stuck when I email the quiet listserv.
But I think that's building relationships too. So like I had met Corey in person and through the Michigan Schools in Action, like monthly. So like, I feel like I know him more so than others because we've met in person too. So I think that's another value of having some type of opportunity to meet together in person.
And I think somebody mentioned, it might have been Kristen in a previous meeting, but that one time, one of the major regions, they met in person, but they attended virtually the AT Lunch and Learn, or it might have been the AAC group or something, but they attended in person, but all of them also attended the AT Lunch and Learn, and then held the rest of their meeting the rest of that afternoon or something. So I mean, that might even be an idea of something to kind of tip into.
Yeah, I'm even wondering, since we're all on the call, this is a little spontaneous, but Tuesday, March 11th is the last AT Leaders Lunch and Learn. What does that day look like for folks? I know it's not quite to the May, but I feel like if we had like some resources where people could kind of dig in and learn a little bit more about the federal guidelines, or kind of start drafting up for high instance AT, like what areas do I need word prediction now that co-writer is being absorbed in a read and writer? Do I need more ideas for a struggle? Like what are kind of those areas? And then take that learning and the needs to an in-person if we wanted on Tuesday, March 11th. I haven't looked at my calendar either, but I just pulled back that slide deck and thought, oh, if we kind of wanted to have that opportunity that I believe it was it's probably region 4 because they do all the things.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
I let Kristen, you're open.
Okay, I know I'm like scrolling it up, like we might have an AT vendor cafe, but that's only 30 minutes. But even to talk like what PDs are you doing? Like sometimes we spend so much time planning for professional development. Like, is there any time where we could collaborate and be like a region 3 developed PD that now we're taking back? But again, this unified messaging, because we're all kind of reinventing the wheels sometimes when we probably don't have to.
So, oops.
Is Gail trying to talk? I think Gail.
Yeah, I think Gail, you're muted.
Yep,
There you go.
it keeps bouncing around. So March 11th, does it start at 11? The 11:30 is the lunch and learn. So should we meet in person before or after?
Or all day.
Or all day, and that's our lunch break. And people can decide if we'll have opportunities in the morning, and then we'll have that, and then we'll have opportunities in the afternoon, and then you can decide if you want to stay all day. And is KRESA pretty much in the middle, or is Allegan more feasible, or does it not matter if you're leaving for the day, you just go anyway?
Gail, can you go back to the slide that shows the picture with all the icons?
With all the icons
Or sorry,
What?
the Michigan with all the counties.
Oh.
yeah.
The map.
And are we, like, I'm just curious, what
Oh.
counties are on the call? Like, could you check, or
Oh,
are you the only one that has the pen option as a host?
yep.
Can you just, can we just do like a quick roll call to kind of see?
You'll have to tell me which county is which, though. I don't know. Only when snow days roll around do I know which.
True, that's, yeah.
Vermillion
says
is
this?
the lower
can-
left.
Yeah, I can do. I have them pulled up right now if you want me to tell you which ones they are.
Yeah.
Looks like lower left. Let's start with like the lower left. That's Berrien. And I'll go to the right. Is Cass. Joseph is, yeah, that's Joseph.
St. Joe.
Yeah. And then Branch.
So is Branch here?
Calhoun Services Branch, I think.
And Nikki, their new aide
Mm,
consultant will be joining too.
That one's Hillsdale. And then
Sorry,
with the-
guys.
Somebody here from St. Joe. We heard that they just hired somebody, so I'll see if I can make contact.
and Gail, I'm sure you know where Van Buren is.
This one?
Yeah, yeah, very good. And then Kalamazoo, and then Calhoun. And then Allegan, and Barry.
And then we got Ottawa and Kent.
And Ionia. And then Muskegon, Newaygo, then good old Montcalm County. The middle
Hey,
of nowhere.
Hey, you're getting a great superintendent coming your way, by the way.
Oh, I
Real
know.
jealous.
We need her badly. Don't get me started. We've got we need her bad. She was associate superintendent when I first started teaching here, so I have a relationship with her. She's great.
So it looks like maybe Allegan is kind of middle-ish, or a lot of times these people don't come, and I don't know if it's because, meaning Cass, St. Joe, Branch, and Hillsdale. And I'm not sure why, if it's location drive or if it's just, smaller, whatever.
I've been doing the AT for St. Joe, so that might be their reason.
So should we do it in Allegan is what I'm wondering, or Ottawa or Allegan?
So we could try if we could get our young adult services just opened a new location and it's beautiful. If they would be available, otherwise Allegan. But I think that is something, if people can tentatively save the date for March 11, we can figure out a location that we can see kind of where might be a central spot. And kind of, I guess, are there specific resources between now and March that you are like, hey, you know what, I really send me something that I can look into that? Or could there be a 1 hour touch point that we can have dialogue around? Fill in the blank. Is there anything before we go? We have 1 minute. If people wanted to unmute or drop in the chat that you're like, hey, I want to know. Wait time is so hard in a virtual space, but I don't feel embarrassed. There is no silly question or silly need. I'm sure whatever's rolling around in your head, we've all thought it before or are currently sitting here thinking it.
And we need to hear it. We need to know.
I think it would be helpful to connect again before March. I'm not sure like in what capacity, or maybe even to continue more of this conversation. I feel like we're just kind of getting to the meat of the conversation of like just on the cliff, like what are we about to be or what are we about to get into? So I don't know if that might look like a Google form that we all share out, or I think and followed by like maybe another touch point before our potential in-person meeting in March.
Maybe could we shoot for like a January? A January touch point, and then a March in person, because I feel like a lot can be done when you're in person.
I think
That sounds
January
great.
would be
Is there a time of
Agreed
day?
holidays.
Yes. Is there a does 9 a.m. work for folks, or are you wishing for an earlier or later 1 hour virtual in January?
I think
Yeah, 9 a.m. Speaking for myself works just fine.
Let's just not hope for a snow day. No snow days. I won't be there at the meeting.
I never will wish for no snow days. I'm sorry
I
to
know,
say.
I know, I know.
Okay, so we're gonna send out a, first of all, we'll send out a recording, from today's. We're gonna send out an invite for January and an invite for March 11th. January will be virtual, kind of a continuation of this, and March will be in person combined with the AT Lunch and Learn, statewide Lunch and Learn. And you'll know more information about the where, and but for the most part, we'll be starting at 9 o'clock.
Gail, can we, in that invite, can we put like a Google Doc in case I have some things like that pop up in my brain the next, couple months? Ooh, I want to
Absolutely.
talk about this. That might be good for everyone to have like a running document.
Absolutely, yeah. Yep. Anything else that you guys need?
I think we should start that mailing list so we can start to open up conversations a little bit more, and I can ask my stupid questions to a group of less than 1,000 people.
And we'll need to make sure that everyone's on this call is on who we have right now on our mailing list, so.
I think Corey brought it up, like having a Region 3 contact list would be a really easy product to have from like this meeting to share out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have try and put it up real quick because I know we're over. So if you've got to go, you got to go. We did a AT leadership team for our county, which is helpful because copy. Okay, I'm just gonna drop it in the chat real quick. So it's like it has our team vision, and I don't know, Gail, if you have access to it to share screen, but then it has like a picture with their contact, and then we ask them, like, there's a lot of strengths that people bring to this team. So what is kind of in your wheelhouse or your strength that you want to advertise? So if I'm struggling with fill in the blank, I can go to our team directory and be like, okay, who might I reach out to because they have a strength in an area that I currently need support. So if you go over or down, I'm not sure what it's having you do there. Yeah, like if you do that right arrow. So just kind of what are your, so I mean, it doesn't have to be exactly like this, but something similar with names, faces, and maybe we have the county.
Yeah. Kind of like the Alt Shift directory that they have, but just for Region 3 kind of is what we're talking, thinking.
Okay.
Any chance you'd want to share that template from Canva? It looks really nice.
I could probably figure that out. Yeah.
There's Janae.
Was Janae in
That's
Allegan?
super cute.
Yeah, she's OT at the center-based program in Allegan.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
She is now, or she was?
She was.
Okay.
Yep, and then she moved there. Yep.
Got it.
So I don't know. I feel like this is something so we could make that template, right? And then people could fill in their own information. This is something, right, that could be one of the asynchronous things. You do it when you can. And, we'd have due dates and things like that, but doesn't necessarily need to be worked on during a meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I think that Kelly is taking notes. She's good at taking notes. So this is like the fourth thing that we need to do.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right.
To do.
Yeah, she's our superhuman that we love to have on our team. So, excuse me, just to, we need to get going, right? Everyone's time is important. So I feel good that we're going to meet in January to continue this. So it's not just we're shutting the door and not doing this anymore. And we have the March thing. We have this will help, an immediate thing that will help everyone, including Corey. And and we'll have that Google Doc so that people can throw ideas on to keep us going. We'll have this document that we're looking at right now. When it's ours, that will, it'll be our contact list, but also gives us more information than that. Anything else before we officially close off? Anybody on the planning team think of anything else that we need to?
I just appreciate you guys showing up. Thank you so much for being here.
It's good to be together.
When is that document gonna be sent? I probably gotta get some professional pictures taken for that that document. Just give me a heads up so I can get those done, please.
Full disclosure, Lindsay and I used AI to get our photo,
Oh,
our headshot.
okay. All right, good to know.
Hey, it was way cheaper than to get a professional one, and we were so sick of like trying to get selfies or pictures of each other in front of a blank wall. We're like, so my sister works in the medical community, and she used this. I was like, your headshots look amazing. She's like, AI. So
Perfect.
use
Good
the
to
one
know.
we can.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll figure out how to make this a template. So, all right, go team.
Thanks for being here, everybody. See you in
Go team.
January.